Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Patricia Garza. I am the Net 10 Program Director here at the Network of Ensemble Theaters. I'll do a brief visual description for folks who need that and who will maybe be watching the recording as well. So I'm a Latinx human. I have covered up short black and gray hair and big glasses, and I'm wearing all black today. I prefer they, them pronouns. And I just want to always start every convening that we do here at NET by acknowledging the native land on which we live, play, and do theater, hopefully do theater. And I am actually zooming in from Tongva Quiche land in Los Angeles today. So just want to acknowledge that. If you want to participate, you can in the chat. In case you want to join in on the land acknowledgement, or if you're watching the recording, you could also think about the land on which you are practicing your work as well. Some quick access needs. We are recording this. We're going to put a link on our website in about a couple of days, I imagine. Our chat is enabled. So Stacey, if you need anything, let us know. And we will, if you need transcript on the bottom ribbon there, you can also press live transcript and that will show up for you. So just what we're going to talk about today, welcome. We're going to talk about NET a little bit, and then also NET 10, which is the grant program. Then we're going to really look at continuation grants and also deep dive into the actual application because we have a new system. So if you've done applications with NET in the past, it's a new system. So I just wanted to say that. And then we'll obviously answer any questions that you have. So that's the agenda for today. Here with us today is myself. I already introduced myself, and Nicole Shero, say a little wave, our finance and operations manager, who will be supporting this program, and also me today on the tech support. So I think most folks know who NET is because you're probably you should be a previous exchange grant recipient. But just a brief reminder for folks who maybe were awarded a while back. So NET is a national community of artists and arts organizations dedicated to the collaborative creation. We exist to propel ensemble theater to the forefront of our culture and society. And we do that in kind of three buckets. So we see these three circles here. And we advocate. So that means that we sit on boards, we're in field work. We really try to make sure that folks are aware and promote ensemble theater as a field and as a form, and make it a really distinct element of theater and performance. So make that clear, kind of have collective impact raised, a collective voice. So we do that also again through advocacy and funding, government resources, educational institutions, etc. We also build knowledge. So a tremendous amount of knowledge, collective wisdom, as I always say, exists within our membership. And so NET collects, organizes, and distributes that back to the community through trying to deepen artistic investigations and organizational innovations, some of that through the NET 10 program, which we'll talk about. But we also convene members through a variety of sources online and person, and offer professional development opportunities. And then lastly, we sustain ensembles. And this grant, more than any, really speaks to that. But through our programs, we really try to strive to secure the future of ensemble practice and theater making by supporting the growth, health, and vibrancy of ensemble companies, artists, and individual practitioners. So we provide that through opportunities for collaboration and exchange, like the NET 10 program, peer knowledge sharing, which we'll talk about through like the shareback model, and mentorship as well. So that's kind of our mission in a nutshell, if you will. You can always learn more on our website. And then specifically to this program, it's called the NET 10 program, and that actually stands for the Travel and Exchange Network. So I know a lot of folks don't know what the mystery NET 10 is, but it's the NET Travel and Exchange Network. And this particular program prioritizes relationship building and, like I said before, knowledge sharing. So the grants are really intended to create opportunities for reciprocal exchanges and peer and colleagues to share information together, share techniques, inspire one another, share expertise, and even performances, which we'll also talk about when we look at eligibility. And the idea, again, is to strengthen the work of both the individual ensembles, but also the field and also the individual members of NET as well. So what's great about the Net 10 program, which I find really special, is that it really encourages open-ended exploration without a pressure cooker of a finished product or project. So we'll talk about that as in relation to the continuation grant, but the whole Net 10 program is designed to be as flexible as possible and really support a wide range of activities. So we'll see that when we look at the eligible expenses. And the goal of this program is really to strengthen the field, strengthen existing relationships, increase ensemble members' capacity to host and travel, and to support both artistic and administrative development, and really boost, right, financial boost the different ensembles. And then we'll look at this when we talk about reporting, but I mentioned this before, to really create a library of resources to share with the field. And that's what we call our Shareback library, which is part of our reporting process. So that's our Net 10 program in a nutshell. This is just a little snapshot so you can see all the different Net 10 offerings we have. We're going to be talking about this bubble, this circle today, the continuation circle. But overall, for the entire life cycle of the program, we've awarded over $1.1 million, and probably actually more now because we just finished up an exchange cycle of grant dollars, and we've had over 1,200 applications over the course of the Net 10 program. So it's a wide-ranging program. We've awarded over 350 grants, and again, that's way more now because we just finished a cycle. And we continue to fund all throughout the pandemic. So that was our remote connection mini grants and our virtual exploration grants. So we were really proud of that. And if you want to learn more, again, we have all these numbers on our website. Specifically today, we're going to talk about continuation grants. I find this little chart really helpful. And this is just one of those infographics that you can kind of follow along to see if this is the right opportunity for you. So you can start right here at the top. Are you a NET member? And what we mean by good standing is that you have an active membership with us, and it's really easy to renew. You can just go to our website, and we are pay what you decide right now. And so you can join us at any level that you feel comfortable and renew with us. If you can't remember your password or login, you can always hit us up and we can check that for you. So let's say yes, because we're all going to renew. We're all going to be super active and in good standing. So yes. And then did you receive, and this is really important, a previous Net 10 exchange grant? So again, I mentioned those pandemic specific funding, which was the remote connection mini grants and the virtual exploration grants. Those are actually not eligible to make it okay for the exchange or for the continuation grant. It's only exchange grants. So I just wanted to say that. That's why we actually gave them specific names, so that way it was clear. So if that's a no, unfortunately, this is not the grant opportunity for you. But let's say it's a yes. Then has this relationship already been supported? So if you've already received a continuation grant, we are asking you to make space for the other folks that are eligible. So if you've already received a continuation grant, which is only about, I think 9, Nicole can correct me, folks, then unfortunately you're not eligible. But if you have not, so if you've had an exchange grant and you have not received a continuation grant, you're good to go. So take a look at this graphic. You can pause, you can take a look, run through the logic here. I think it's really helpful to make sure that you're hitting all these boxes to check your eligibility. This is the timeline for continuation grants for this year. So applications are open now. We're going to take a peek at those. They're due on May 9th at 11:59 p.m. PST, so midnight West Coast time, if you will. And the project period is a full year. So that starts this summer, July 1st, and you can do any of the grant activities up until June 30th, 2023. And it's really important to keep this in mind because this particular grant we do need to close out after the reporting deadline is due. So we really want to make sure that the project activities fit within this project period. Let me just check here. Great. Any questions so far about any of that I shared? And you can put it in the chat, or you can, if not, we'll kind of go a little deeper. So continuation grants support one $10,000 grant a year, and the activities must take place in the US. So I just wanted to say that because we just finished a travel grant cycle, and that was open to international. The continuation grants are very similar along the track of exchange grants. And so you can, so they're $10,000 and must take place in the US. So that's just really, really important to check that. And we reward once a year. The goals of the program are really intended, again, and I know we're kind of repeating this, but I think it warrants repeating, that we're really building off the exchange grant. So it's intended to further build on relationships that were enhanced through that previous grant, the Net 10 exchange grant. And with that, folks can propose a revisitation of a portion of that supported project that was completely originally planned, or you can actually indicate a new project with those same partners. So we'll talk about that, or at least one of those partners. But really the key in the narrative, which we'll look at the narrative questions together as well, is to really indicate clear progression of deepening the relationship. So learning from the previous grant, and how are you going to feed that into this new proposal? So that's really, really important. And we have tons of space in the narrative for you all to articulate that. But that, I just wanted to say that's a big goal of the criteria, which we'll also look at. In terms of eligibility, this one has a lot, but again, it's a lot of repeats. So I'll just go kind of quickly through this. This is all on our website as well. So again, must be in good standing through the project period all the way to final reporting. Join, pay what you decide right now. Only available to ensemble members. So that category, the net membership category of ensembles. We do not need 501 status. You must have an address to receive the funds in the US. This is the same for the exchange grant, actually for all our grants. An application is submitted by the lead applicant from the previous exchange grant, but again, must be in conjunction with at least one of the original project partners. So I know this is where some folks get a little bit confused, where it's like, I'm an ensemble, I received an exchange grant, I want to just apply with a completely new project, completely new partners. But that is not the purpose of the continuation grant. In the title, it's to continue the relationship with the project partners that you originally received the funding for. So at least one, because I know some folks apply with multiple partners, so at least one. If a grant is awarded, the lead applicant and the project partners are considered joint. So they're considered joint applicants. So they will not receive another continuation grant, which I think we've already said. Please only be listed in one continuation proposal, and then recipients, again, we already said this, will not be able to receive a second continuation grant for the same partnership. And of course, just good standing again also means that all your final reporting, either from the previous exchange grant or other grants that you had received, like travel, or even these mini grants and the summer virtual exploration grants, must be tidied up and finished for you to be considered eligible to apply for the continuation grants. And if you have any questions about that, you can just email myself or the net 10 at ensembletheaters.net. We have a little list. In terms of expenses that are eligible, again, as in all the net 10 programs, it's really about this idea of new processes and practice to strengthen your art making, increasing your competency for touring, expanding your capacity for hosting is also eligible. Again, you can revisit a portion of something that maybe you didn't get to in the previous exchange grant, or build off that, or again, you can do a new project with those original partners, or at least one of those original partners. Production and tour course are allowed. So I know that was also coming off the travel grant round. I just want to say that is a shift. So mirroring the exchange grants, production and tour costs are allowed. But again, not required. We really encourage open-ended processes. Don't have to feel like it has to be tied to a project or final performance, if you will. These are our criteria, again, all on our website. So this is really what the panel is going to be looking at when they're looking at selection. And so right here up the top, the most important thing is it's all about the quality of the exchange. So is there depth there? Is there a benefit to the field? Is this deepening? Again, I mentioned that in the top, but really clearly articulating your goals here. This second bullet is super important again. The evidence that this activity is expanding on that previous relationship. So feasibility, always important, making sure that people are being compensated. Does your timeline make sense? The scope of the project feels doable within the time frame you put. Again, just trying to understand here, what are you advancing? What are you, what practices are you trying to learn from or build off of? What are you increasing your capacity for by this particular opportunity? Field sharing is super important to us, so that we'll look at that question, but there's a question around like, how are you, what is the potential to share this learning out with folks, either with other artists, with the field? How are you documenting these things so that we were able to share this out? And then of course, just centering equity, diversity, and inclusion and anti-oppression practices. There's a specific question around there. And we always encourage folks to read our equity and funding statement, NET's equity and funding statement, and NET's accountability statement. So you can just see how NET is prioritizing this and talking about this and sharing our values with this work. And we want to meet you where you are. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you're grappling with this. So just be as honest and transparent and authentic as possible. And all of these criteria are equally weighted. So our panel, will really look through all of these bullets and say, are they really, is this a quality exchange? Is there some depth of knowledge, peer-to-peer knowledge sharing here? And we really feel like this has big impact for the field. From there, once the project is completed, each grantee is required to submit a final report. So that will have a narrative portion where we just ask a few questions for you and your partner to unpack the activities together, a financial report, and this thing called the shareback. So I referenced this earlier. We have a shareback library where this is really about, it's kind of an opportunity, I consider it an opportunity to really share with the NET community and beyond something from the project that isn't a summary report, but really about big learnings that you had, big takeaways, something that people can really read and get inspired by. It's typically on our blog, and you can do it through a variety of different fashions. So photos, video, a blog post. Some people love to do kind of like things to keep in mind. Do not do this. Anything that's really helpful to people, so that way they can glean from your project something for their own future projects, which is really exciting. So I actually get really excited by the sharebacks, and you can see examples of sharebacks on our shareback library. And we will hold 20% of the grant funds until those final reports are received. And of course, unfortunately, if we do not receive anything, then you will not be eligible for future NET funding. Any questions about that before we kind of look at the application and kind of get nitty gritty with like what the application is asking? That's kind of more the overview of the program. Great. So all of this can be found on the how to apply section on our website, but I just wanted to, we'll preview the narrative questions and the budget information, but I can't say this enough. We need you to save a draft of the application on your own personal computer. So whether that's a Word doc, a Google doc, Nicole will show you a short video momentarily where she recommends some techniques there. and then you can just cut and paste into our platform. And the reason for that, it's a new platform. We've done 2 panels within it. It's working fabulous, but we always want to make sure that you have a backup of your answers in case for some reason something comes out funky and we can't read it, or maybe an attachment didn't save properly. So I always, always, always please save a draft. And I also want to highlight, unlike our previous platform, you're not able to save progress. So make sure you do, if you're working on the grant throughout the week or what have you, then you can copy and paste when you're finally ready to submit. So I don't know, Nicole, let me toss it to you first, and then I'll do the, let me stop sharing here. And then we'll look at a short video from Nicole that goes over the platform and gives you some hot tips. And then we'll come back and look at the narrative questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Shero and I'm the Finance and Operations Manager at the Network of Ensemble Theaters. Today I'll be taking you through NET's new and updated grant application portal. While the application questions and requirements are largely the same, some important parts of the website itself have changed, so let's take a look. Unlike with our previous portal, you cannot save your application on this website and edit it later. If you complete the form and submit it, we will receive your full application. If you navigate away or close the browser, you will lose your work. Therefore, I would suggest that you prepare your answers ahead of time in a separate document and then copy and paste your responses when you feel ready to submit. We'll start by taking a look at the How to Apply page on NET's website. I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of one of these documents to store my draft in. For the Google Docs version, I'll just open this, go to File, Make a Copy, and then save this in my personal Google Drive. Here's my draft application with all of my information in it. I have my partner letter and budget PDFs ready to upload, and I'm ready to submit this proposal and be done. First, I'm going to navigate to our new application portal at net10.ensembletheaters.net. Please note that you do not need to log in to submit your application. Simply click on the button to get started. And here's a list of the same warnings that I'm providing in this video for you to keep in mind. The most important thing to remember here is not to use your forward and back buttons on your browser to navigate between the screens. Use these directional buttons here to go back and forth. I'm going to pull up my pre-populated document here and copy and paste my answers. And if you have formatting issues, this is the button to reset your formatting. I recommend trying to keep formatting light, as it will make your proposal easier for the panelists to read and understand. For each partner, I'm going to be sure to click that Add Partner button and enter in their details. Then, I'll attach my partner letters, which have been merged into a single PDF. Next, I'll copy and paste my narrative questions, remembering that if something looks weird, I can highlight that text and press this button to clear all the formatting and start over. Finally, I'm going to upload my completed budget and press the Submit button. When I check my email, I'll have a confirmation from the system letting me know that I saved successfully and I can take a break. And that's it. If you have any questions or difficulties with the new application system, please reach out to NET staff at net10@ensembletheaters.net. Also, I'll put a link in the description for more information about the exchange grants and where to apply.
Great. Anything else, Nicole, or you feel that?
I think that should be it.
Okay.
Just feel free to reach out if you have any questions or have any troubles.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just kind of walk through these narrative questions. And if you have any questions, we could talk about them, and I'll just give some thoughts around, how to navigate these questions. And again, because you had a previous partnership with this person, hopefully it will be pretty easy to communicate out. So just to show what this looks like on our website, you click right here for what Nicole was demonstrating on the video for an application. It's on the how to apply section again. I did want to say we have removed character limits. And the reason for that is equity. We want to make sure that you all are we're honoring your time and labor, and we don't want that to be spent on periods and commas and dashes and trying to edit it down. But we will say that for the sake of our panelists, we want you to be brief and succinct. And we have experienced in the past a little bit of copy paste fever in terms of not being really highly critical around this particular character limit removal. So we just encourage you to be, it's a balance. We want to make sure that you're using enough copy to express what you need, but let's be a little critical eye in terms of being conscious that somebody is going to be reading all of these as well. So this is new for us. We're experimenting. So we want to honor the experiment and hear feedback from folks on both ends of how it's working. The first section, like Nicole mentioned, is really asking about you as the lead applicant. So again, an ensemble must be an ensemble member in the ensemble category from NET. And so that is pretty self-explanatory. I think we just want to hear about you, want to hear about your organizational history there. And again, because we've had a previous relationship with you, it should be pretty easy. We do want to know about the partner here. So that they do ask a few questions, Nicole, on the website about the partner. So want to fill that in. And again, must be one of the original partners. So that's super, super important. The partnership letter, I also have a slide about this, which we'll go over in just a bit, but that's an attachment. Do want to highlight that we do not need a letter from the lead applicant. So that's been a little bit of a point of confusion in previous rounds. So I just want to say that out loud. This is the portion I wanted to really get into, was the grant narrative. So we want to hear originally what was the previous project summary. So hopefully you have some files from the previous exchange grant. And just, what was the exchange grant? If you can't remember, on our website, we also have a brief summary of all the exchange grant recipients. So hopefully, I would assume, since you're partnering with them again, you all have a long-standing relationship. But just a little brief summary about the relationship and the partnership. And again, I just want to reiterate, any ways that the relationship and partnership has advanced from that grant. So again, building off of, enriching, value added from that previous initial exchange grant. What is your proposed new project summary? A description for that. So artistic vision here. And this should again be joint. Where are you all seeing this project going? What are the activities happening? What is the kind of crux of this exchange again? And this will be the nature of the relationship. So how will this collaboration really move and further the learning from the previous exchange grant? And then what role are the partners taking in this next phase? Maybe potentially before it was more of a, we're both learning from each other, we're both exchanging these methodologies, and now we both have those methodologies, so we're going to move towards classes together, or workshops, or a performance, or a tour. So really want to see that bridge. I'm just checking in the chat here. Yes, Tracy, go ahead.
Thanks. So we got as you know, we got a grant like 10 years ago. So I'm just wondering if you said it has to be at least one original partner. If those partners are no longer available, or like I know one of the theaters that we had applied to work with before is no longer, it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Could we sort of write something about new partners we'd like to work with, or is that yeah, how would you suggest that we deal with that?
Yeah, so if they're like not an entity, but maybe it's the individuals from that particular company,
Okay.
still you want to partner with, you could kind of explain how that particular entity maybe has dissolved, but
Okay.
that you kept the relationship up with maybe this individual or a couple individuals, but they
Cool.
do have somebody from the previous partnership, like what at least one of the partners has to be in place. So it can't
Okay.
be completely new.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, the one in New Orleans, I know, the owners are sort of, are gone, but there are some performers there that started some new stuff in New Orleans. And so, they may not have been directly involved with the project, but they were involved with the organization that was there 10 years ago.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I think it's really about building the case though, then about like what was that initial project
Got it.
exchange, and if those folks were involved, even on the periphery, right? If they were involved in like the methodology sharing,
Okay.
and then now you're coming together to build off of that, or if let's say one company just doesn't even exist, but you still want to partner with another company that was part of that original exchange, that also can be fine. Doesn't have to be like, say you had 4 partners or 3 partners. If one of those partners is available, that qualifies.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so just what is the nature, and that's really the space, Stacey, that I would say you could put that in terms of the nature of the relationship. So maybe there's something that has shifted there that you just need to clarify.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Then we want to know the goals and the outcomes. So what are your artistic goals together? What are you hoping to achieve together? So just trying to get a sense of the impact of the project. Is this going to impact your all's organizational operations? Is this going to impact the way you conduct your artistic practices or methodologies in the future? So getting specific here, I think, is really helpful. And just a tip around like what I think really resonates with the panelists is really getting a clear vision around articulating our goals on both sides. So that's really clear, making sure that folks are really, it's a joint effort, and that folks are really mutually benefiting from this opportunity. And then of course the schedule, always important. So again, this goes back to feasibility, trying to get a sense of scope and scale. And this knowledge sharing question really harkens back to what we talked about with the criteria around, is this helpful to the field? What are you all hoping to learn? How is this exchange really speaking to something that maybe the field is grappling with? And again, I really encourage folks to read through some of the shareback libraries, or also previous exchange grant and continuation grant recipients, just to see kind of what is that nugget, right? What is that nugget of knowledge and peer learning that's happening? And then how is that getting distributed? We were already planning to do a podcast about this topic, about our artistic exchange, and that could be something that we use in the shareback, but also is going to be shared widely amongst XYZ community. We already talked about this briefly, but again, equity, diversity, inclusion. I really recommend there's links on here to our accountability statement and equity and funding statement. How is this activity and also your particular ensemble working towards anti-oppression practices? So just speaking to that really directly would be really helpful for us. And then we'll ask for a budget, which I can just flash the budget template up here. It's really self-explanatory, up to $10,000, like I said previously. And then I really encourage people to use this note section. The panelists actually do read this. And this is actually becoming, from my experience, facilitating the last 2 panels, really important part of the narrative. So really take some time with your budget to really indicate how you got to these numbers, and using this note section wildly. Like you can really fill in some gaps here, and that's actually really helpful for folks. So, and then it totals for you right here, and then you have the income section down here. So we try to make this form pretty simplistic, but if you have any issues at all, Nicole and I are here to help. And you can get that template straight from the website here. And then this just goes back into like the final report etc. for you. I'm just going to flash back my presentation. I have a couple more slides to get through. Ooh, okay, there we go. So I already said this, but I'm just going to reiterate how important the budget form is. I can't express to you enough how panelists really look at that in context with the narrative. So really using those details to determine how many days of the trip. Is this a daily compensation rate? Is this an hourly compensation rate? We want to know if this is part of a larger project. So maybe the $10,000 is just one sliver of a larger project together. So really showing how this particular grant is fitting into the overall budget is really helpful. And we have some space at the bottom where you can say, oh, I already have dedicated funding from this foundation, or etc. I always say it's another storytelling tool. So just spending some time on it, I think, is really important. And that partnership letter as well. So each project partner should have a signed separate letter. Again, lead applicant does not need to submit a letter. Just showing that they've read through this. Again, we're hoping that this is a joint application so that they're really affirming what's in the grant narrative and potentially expanding on it. Maybe they can offer their own 2 cents about what they're excited about with the project, or what they learned from the previous exchange grant, and now they are like really super pumped to get back in there with this ensemble again. This is always a helpful little tool on our website, and I'm flashing it here as well for folks watching the recording. This just goes through all the eligible expenses with the different grant opportunities. So we're looking at this last column here. So you can see here, international travel is not eligible. And I want to reiterate, when we say eligible expenses, that also means activities. So the narrative should also be matching your budget, right? So even though maybe the funds are not going to international, the activities also are US based. So visa are not eligible, and also equipment purchases are pre-existing professional development opportunities. So that could be a conference, that could be like a workshop that I could just sign up on somebody's website for. So all of that is not eligible for continuation. So just wanted to say that out loud. So as you can see, it mirrors the exchange grants. And then how do these get evaluated? How do they get processed? So we have a total of 3 peer panels. Net here always practices peer panel review. So our panel is going to be composed of 3 practitioners in the field, and they'll review your applications and make funding recommendations based on that slide I showed earlier around selection criteria. And we'll have a scoring process and have a conversation as well. We have every single cycle shaken up the panelists. So we're going to have a completely new panelist from the previous exchange grant that we just hosted, and also the previous travel grant panel that we're currently in. So whole new folks, whole new group of people. So we really believe in that kind of fresh eye, fresh take peer review process. So that's our formal presentation. Happy to answer, Stacy, any more questions you have. If other folks have questions that are watching this recording, net10@ensembletheaters.net. Nicole and I both get that email, so that's the best way to get a hold of us and ask your specific questions. But everything's on the website, hopefully, and I hope this recording just talked through in a more friendly, digestible format of all the information. But just making space, Stacy, if you have any more specific questions. Okay. We're good. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for watching the recording, and hopefully we'll see your application by May 9th. Have a good day, everyone.